I request all of you to please settle down. Wisdom is not a product of schooling, but a lifelong attempt to acquire it.
A very warm welcome to each and every one of you present over here.
This is Bharat Tripathi.
And I am Naisha Rao. We will be your host for today's event. Today we have Mr. Bas Wouters, Mr. Venkatam Arabulu, Mr. Mark Brown and Ms. Marie Kedam and Ms. Tanya Rai as esteemed guests of honor for today's event.
The lamp lights up not just the room, but our hearts with wisdom and peace.
With this, we would like to invite our respected Vice Chancellor, Dr. Raj Singh, and a guest of honor, Mr. Bas Wouter, and all esteemed guests for lighting of the lamp. I request all deans to join also. As the flame rises upwards, may our thoughts and actions rise to higher ideals.
Now we would like to invite our Vice Chancellor, Sir, Dr. Raj Singh, to deliver the welcome address and set the tone for the event.
Distinguished guest this morning, Mr. Bas Wouters, all the distinguished leadership from Quality Austria Central Asia, Mr. Pankaj Rai, the Managing Director, Mr. Venkat A, the Chief of Innovation, Pankaj Srivastava, Chief Commercial, other distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, dear students, deans, HOD and everyone. Welcome to this special master class this morning. Friends, in whatever role we are, we often ask few questions and they keep wondering us. We keep struggling to find answers to them. And some of them are, Why do people say yes? We don't know what makes them say yes when we talk to them. How trust, urgency, and likability shape the decisions of others. What truly drives commitment in teams and markets. How leaders create a culture of voluntary cooperation. These questions we face almost every minute of our career, professional life, personal lives. We've also seen that any technological advancements, particularly since 1990s, whenever technological advancements took place, we always found a downside of it, the misuse of this. And that's why it was said that unless the social thinking is equally harder or harder than the technological advancements, we are not able to safeguard against the downsides of any technological advancement. Industry 4.0 technology are no exceptions, and in that specifically today, artificial intelligence is causing a lot of dilemma before us. How much we should use, how we should use, these questions haunt us on daily basis. To answer these and many more such questions which we face every day, we have a distinguished guest, Mr. Bas Wouters, with us this morning. Thank you so much, sir, for extending the invitation. I must thank particularly Mr. Pankaj Rai, the Managing Director of Quality Austria Central Asia, whom I have known for more than 2 decades now, and Mr. Venkat sitting right next to him, and Pankaj Srivastav. We have worked together since 2003 to be more precise. They are the ones responsible to bring the distinguished speaker to us. Thank you so much. I think the learnings which our students and faculty members will go through will stay with them for long, long times to come. Few words about BAS. There's an ethical and science-based approach to designing behavior, persuading people and getting a yes more often as a result. Bas Wouters is a world-class expert in this field. Wouters achieved revenue growth of 500% in world of finance. He built a multi-million dollar business from scratch and disrupted the Dutch kitchen industry as an online entrepreneur, all by applying the science of persuasion. Triggered by its immense power, Wouters decided to aim for the highest in the world of influence. He joined forces with Dr. Robert Cialdini, the godfather of influence. They established an intensive collaboration which continues to this day. One of the fruits of this partnership is Wouters authoring Online Influence. In this international best-selling and award-winning book, he combines Dr. Cialdini's work with insights from other behavioral experts, creating a highly practical framework to boost online results. After establishing the Online Influence Institute, companies like Disney, Alliance, and Booking.com called upon Wouters' expertise, and he trained and coached thousands of professionals worldwide. And then came the extraordinary invitation. The godfather of influence, Dr. Cialdini, asked Wouters to join forces to help with building his legacy, all because of, I'm quoting Dr. Cialdini now, the unique set of qualities Bas has as a persuasion expert, successful businessman, and a close friend. Now he is launching the Online Influence AI Lab. He is on track to achieve his mission to help people and companies to boost their results by helping them to apply behavioral psychology amplified with the power of artificial intelligence. As I said, unless any technology is accompanied by a faster and harder thinking on behavior, on sociology, on society, the upside of technology cannot be harvested. And therefore, to guard against the downsides, extremely important to learn about it. And human behavior, according to me, the most complex thing. We keep on deciphering. I was talking to Mr. Venkat before we came in. We spend as much as 80 to 90% of our times in offices dealing with human behavior. I remember in one of the MBA programs, almost 25 years ago, we started a program called Behavioral Science and Human Technology. I now understand the vision of that time of our leaders was so profound, so much far ahead into the future. Today, I think we'll make much more sense out of it. I'll not stand between you and Bas and request him to please take over. You round of applause, please.
Thank you, everybody. Can you hear me properly if I speak without a mic?
Yes.
Yeah? Then no mic is needed. Then I have the slides up and running. The clicker. Yeah, put the mic. Okay, then. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, happy to be here. Is this better with the mic?
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, great. First of all, thank you so much for coming with so many people and showing an interest in what both Professor Singh and I, of course, believe that it's a crucial topic. We want to boost results with proven science, behavioral science, and AI. And I want to wish you a very, very warm welcome. Before we dive into not only theory, but I like to make it very practical, so I will have a lot of tips for you that you can apply right away after this talk. And I have a lot of real-life case studies. I want to give also my special gratitude. First of all, to the entire team of Bennett University, with a special thanks to Professor Singh to make this all happen. So please, applause for Bennett University. Also, I'd like to send my gratitude to the team of Quality Austria, here represented by Tanya Raj, Pankaj Raj, Venkataram, and Pankaj Sivas. Please. Thank you. So, let's get started. Let's get started. What is online influence? That's the title of my book. And many people have a first idea, and most of the time, it is in a certain direction. But I'd like to ask you a question first. Do you ever try to persuade or get something done from another person who has a mobile phone? Who tries to get things done from other people that other person owns a mobile phone? Let's make this interactive. So one more try. Do you ever try to get something done from other people and that other person has a mobile phone? Yes! Love the interaction. I think we all do. So, what is online influence? Most people think it's about this. Marketing, I want more leads, better performing email ad campaigns, better ads, more e-commerce sales. And indeed, it's also about that. But actually online influence is much broader. We call it's ethical, persuasive communication through a screen to get the maximum results. To get people to do what you want them to do. And that leads to a much wider field where we can apply all this knowledge. For example, in sales. We try in business to sell and we communicate through a screen. Think about simply an email or sending a WhatsApp message or even a message on Instagram. Or maybe leadership. You want to get people to embrace your vision. We communicate on intranets. We communicate by phone. Think about management. You have to get your teams to collaborate perfectly. You have to have your project finished in time. How do we communicate nowadays? Always, mostly to digital channels, right? Yeah. So this is what this is about. Negotiation. You want to negotiate deals. We communicate through emails, Zoom calls, HR. There's a lot of talent, and I'm so proud to be in India because if there's one country in the world that has a lot of talent, it's India. So we applause for everybody, but I like an applause for you now. You're sitting here and listening. Yeah. So companies are fighting for your talent, and they need to win the war on talent. They want you all to work for them, so they have to persuade you. And of course, customer service. It's a very interesting department in a company. You know why? They often get the first complaints, or if something small is wrong. They have the most interesting persuasive job, actually. They can turn complainers into fans, and fans into ambassadors. All by applying what I'm going to teach you today. So, Now we understand what online influence is. I want to ask a question. And again, I like interactive. So, how important do you think persuasion is for your business? Who thinks it's very important? Love this. Best audience ever. And I agree. I say persuasion and getting yeses is crucial for business success. But I think it's also, if you are very persuasive, you also have a happier life. Think about it. Some of you might be single and you want to go on a date with somebody. If you ask that person, it's nice if they say yes, right? Yeah. Or maybe some other people in the room, they have children. It's also nice if your children listen to what you ask. Well, we all the time communicate, also in our personal life, to get things done. So, what I want to say, it's crucial for business success, but also it gives you a happier life. Now back to business. Now I want to imagine something. You imagine something. Imagine this. You worked very hard, you saved all the time money, and again you started working harder and harder, save more money, and finally you could pay for your dream holiday. And you throw in an extra buck and you book the 5-star hotel. You arrive at the plane. And this is your pilot. Who would step in the plane? yeah. Okay, most of the people don't step in the plane, but I like it. Yes, I come back to that in a second. Yes, so most of us don't step in the plane because the child doesn't know how to fly. That's our assumption, right? Now my question is, why do we do this all the time in our businesses? Why there are a lot of people in departments that deal with people that have to make decisions, people that we have to persuade? I say we need persuasion pilots. So, I'm not the only, who agrees with me? We need persuasion pilots. Great. So, luckily we are not the only one that can feel this. There's a very famous Harvard professor. They don't like the topic. So there's a very famous Harvard professor, Mr. Cotton. Maybe some of you know him. And he has an interesting saying about this. He says, the central issue is never strategy, structure, culture, or systems. The core of the matter is always changing the behavior of people. We had an interesting conversation this morning. It's about the rapid growth of Bennett University. And literally they were said, when we had the right people and they did the right things, we could grow enormously. So it's about driving behavior of people. And now somebody else, she's a professor from London University, Susan Mitchell. And she's also the director of Central Behavior Change. And she says this, a lot of knowledge has been developed about behavioral change. But many of those investments are wasted because we don't use the knowledge. Who's in to change that today? Who likes to change so we apply the knowledge? Yes, that's what we're going to do. So let me introduce you to the power of behavioral psychology. And I'd like to start with a study that's done in California. And what they did, they asked people, which message do you think makes you start saving energy? Is that message number 1? It's good for the environment. If it's number 2, it helps future generations. So it's good for your children, grandchildren. Number 3, it's good for your wallet, it saves you money. Or number 4, your neighbors are already saving energy. So the question to them was, what do you think yourself would make you start saving energy? Who thinks? People answered number 1. Yeah, a few. Who thinks number 2? Yeah. Who thinks number 3? And who thinks number 4? Well, it's a very diverse answer, so I like that. You know what most people said? The environmental appeal. When it's good for the environment, you know what I do? I start saving energy. And we know this message all around the world. I see you nodding. Yeah, so it's in hotels. Every hotel on planet Earth asks us also to do something. To reuse our towels. And they say you need to do this because it's good for the environment. And you know how they came to that message? There was not just somebody that popped up an idea. There were highly, very expensive consultant firms hired because these hotels, of course, they care about the environment. But they also care about their profit. You know what happens in these big hotel chains. If we all reuse hotels, it saves them a lot of cost. Less cleaning, less laundry. So this is millions and millions they can save if we reuse our towels. So they invested a lot of money to come up with this message, the environmental appeal. But when these people were actually tested, you know what was the most powerful message? What actually influenced them? It was what we call the social proof message. Your neighbors are already saving energy. I come back to social proof later in my presentation, how you can use it. My point here is, people typically don't know what influence their behaviors and decisions. But what do we do all day when we want to persuade somebody? We ask those people what we need to do. We won't get the right answers. So that's already an interesting finding, right? So the whole world is asking clients and everybody, friends, what do we need to do in order for you to say yes to me? You probably won't get the right answers. So we need something else. We need to know how people actually make decisions. And I like to introduce the man here that is what? We all know at least one person. Let's do it a little bit interactive again. Who is the person we all know? Yes, great job. Again, best audience ever. So, does anybody know the man next to Barack Obama? Yes? Yes, great. It's Dr. Daniel Kahneman. Daniel Kahneman gets here the Medal of Freedom Award from back then President Barack Obama, which is the highest recognition that you can get as a civilian in the United States. But he not only got the Medal of Freedom Award, he won a Nobel Prize. And now you think, he's a behavioral scientist, so probably he won the Nobel Prize. Ah, perfect. It's better. You know my style, that's why I said. People now see my Fantastic.
Improving your persuasion.
Yes. I can go back to my natural mode. But yes, so thank you, by the way. So, you would think he won a Nobel Prize for behavioral psychology because he's a behavioral scientist. But that Nobel Prize doesn't exist, so he could not win it. He won a Nobel Prize for economics. So now we have an interesting thing. What can a behavioral scientist prove that was so impactful to the economy that that year he was selected to win the Nobel Prize? And by the way, a Nobel Prize you don't win, of course, just scribble a few notes on a piece of paper. This is extensive work. So this was powerful, impactful. What did he prove? He proved how human beings actually make decisions. And he proved that in our brain are actually two brains when it comes to making a decision. And he called them System 1 and System 2. System 1 is our fast, unconscious brain, and it works automatically. Or in other words, it works on shortcuts. For example, if something is more expensive, it must be better, right? We think if everybody is doing so, it must be a good idea to do so as well. These are these shortcuts, and they are made for everyday decisions. For example, when I walk in the supermarket and somebody approaches me, I'm not going to make all kinds of complicated calculations. How do I pass? We just pass, right? System 1 handles all those decisions. And that's very good for us, because otherwise we would go crazy. We cannot handle that with our system 2 because system 1 is a fast computer. So it's very good we have that. Only system 1 is error prone. Most of the times these shortcuts are right. Most of the times when something is more expensive, it is better. Most of the times when everybody is doing so, it is a good idea to do so as well. But not always. So therefore, luckily, we have system 2. And system 2 is, you can compare it with a slow computer. It's a rational brain. But the problem is, it costs us effort. It's hard for people to think. Actually, system 2 is quite a lazy system, you could say. Daniel Kahneman says, hard thinking work for human beings is the same as swimming is for cats. We can do it, but we don't really like to. But it's also made for complex decisions. So that's good. System 2 can compare all the options and then select the best one and we move ahead. So it's also great that we have system 2. Now, old economics always claimed the human being is a rational creature. So when we have to make an important decision, we should use system 2, right? Daniel Kahneman proved them wrong. 2002, about 90% of all our decisions are made with system 1. Nowadays, research shows already it's up to 95, and even there is research showing already, not significant enough yet, that it's 98. So we are leaning more and more on system 1. Why? The information overload that the technical evolution created, it's simply impossible for system 2, our brain, to handle that. So we need to rely on system 1. And now you probably think, I believe that, boss, but when I have to make a really important decision, well, I use system 2. Let me give you an example. Buying a house. Who agrees that that's an important decision? Thank you for the interactivity, love that. So, what you do, you start very rational, that's correct. You say, I want to live in that area. I want a house and a garden, or I want an apartment. I want to have this many bedrooms, bathrooms. So very factual elements you start your journey with. But now you decide to buy a certain house. And then you hear all these cliches in the world. Well, it was a little bit too expensive, but I totally fell in love with the house. I just had to buy it. That's not very rational, right? So at one moment we gather this information, rational information, but at the decision moment, system 1 kicks in and there are other decision triggers that actually make us moving forward into a certain direction, that actually makes us yes to certain things. But now, I thought, if we ask people, we don't get the right answers to how to persuade them. But how do we try to persuade people very often? With rational arguments. But rational arguments will trigger system 2. Daniel Kahneman says, system 1 runs the show. That's the one you want to move. So what do we need to actually get much more yeses? And I promise you, I will give you a lot of case studies that you will think, wow, that millions or millions are made by some simple change. What do we need? When we make strategies, when we make campaigns, we use our full brain power, system 2. But we need a system that we can use our full brain power and come up with solutions and ideas that will trigger system 1 in the other person's mind. That way we will be more persuasive. And I'm here today to share that system, and thanks to the Bennett University and Quality Austria, we can bring that to India. So you can grow to the biggest economy on planet Earth, because that's what I've been told. 2030 you're on track, and let's get a little bit of extra power to India to make that happen. So, system 1 is often compared with a reptile brain, or in other words, croc brain. And I think that's a wrong comparison, because system 1 is smarter than the average crocodile. That's one reason I have 2. System 1 knows 2 plus 2 is 4. System 1 can drive a car on an empty road. I never saw a crocodile doing such things. But even more important, we like to compare it to a child of 7. System 1 is about a child of 7. So there you get, that's what we have in mind. And for you guys, it's much easier to imagine if you start communicating, especially in the quickly moving online world. How do I talk to a child of 7 versus how do I talk to a crocodile, right? So that's the first lesson. You have to imagine our audience is a child of 7. Now, let me introduce a system that outperforms the market by 600%. Therefore, I like also to ask a few questions. There are numerous of web shops or e-commerce shops on planet Earth. And I don't know if everybody knows what conversion rate is, but imagine 100 people visit that shop. How many people buy something? Is that 20 people, 5 people, or 1 on average? Who thinks A? Who thinks B? Who thinks C? Answer C. Average of all e-commerce shops combined on planet Earth, what research shows. So this is weird, right? Let's imagine you are in sales and you had 100 sales meetings and you go to your manager. The manager says, oh, good job, 100 meetings. How much did you sell? 1. I imagine you won't have the best meeting of your life. But online, for some reason, it's an acceptable number. Although, we try to change that. And we do that with so-called A/B tests. So what is an A/B test? You have your original web page, for example, here with a blue button, and you test. If we have a green button, will we have more conversion? Now, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Think about Amazon, Netflix, Meta. They test everything. So there's a lot of money going on in all the testing. Now my question to you is, how many percent of these tests are actually successful, that they show an uptake in conversion? Who thinks half of the tests, answer A, is successful? Who thinks B, 30%? Who thinks C? And that's indeed the correct answer. Only 10% on average of all these tests are successful. So I just thought it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So that means 90% of all this time, effort, a huge amount of money is wasted. And if your name is Amazon, your 10% success rate will make up for the 90 other percent. But if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a small, medium-sized company, or even a little bit smaller than Amazon, you need a higher success rate in order to fund the non-successful test. So let me introduce you to what we can achieve. This is the market, 10%. We achieve a 60 to 70% success rate when we run tests. And with some principles, it's even a 95 to 99% success rate, and those principles I'm going to share with you today. So, at minimum, a 600% more successful system to persuade people. Who likes to know that system? Yes, great to see. So what I'm going to give you, a proven method to boost your conversions. But it can be conversions offline and online. It is getting more yeses, more people to do what you want them to do. And I'm not only here to talk about theory, like I said. I will make it very practical what you can do, but I also show case studies. So I will show how SimCity, with boosted sales with 43%. Bol.com, that's the Dutch Amazon. It's about an $8 billion web shop. How they got 400% more reviews. And I show how Seat, the car manufacturer, got 2,000% more leads. And you know what is the best? They all got it with minimum investment. Almost costly investment. You don't need big budgets, you don't need big teams to do it. The science is very complicated, but making it practical, you just need to know what to do. That's what I'm going to teach you today. And as a start, I'd like to introduce this man. Does somebody know who he is? I can understand. His name is B.J. Fogg, Brian Jeffrey Fogg. He's a Stanford University professor, and he's also the founder at Stanford of the Stanford Behavioral Lab. As of course you know, Stanford is a very prestigious university. But he also did something else. Who has an Instagram account here? Then for some reason you are connected with BJ Fogg. Because the left guy, these are the founders of Instagram, was a student of BJ. And you know what actually happened? They invented an app like Instagram, but it wasn't really successful. Then he went to BJ, he said, can you help us? And then it became a little bit of a success, right? Within a year they sold it for $1 billion to Facebook. And BJ suddenly had a big house on Hawaii. So I think the guys were grateful. What could BJ Fogg have done to make Instagram suddenly, out of the blue, so successful? He understood, how can you design behavior? How can you let people do what you want them to? Therefore, he developed the Fogg behavioral model. This model, what we now want to do, we want to get more yeses, and yeses leads to behavior. And this model explains how behavior occurs. So when I ask somebody, 3 factors are at play. The first one is motivation. So in other words, if I ask you something, you wonder, do I really like to do that? The second factor is ability. So you wonder, how easy is this for me to do? And the third is a prompt. BJ Fogg says, a human being doesn't do anything automatically. I will explain in more in depth what prompts are in a minute. But prompts are something that asks for behavior. For example, this glass of water can prompt me to take a drink. That's how we see the world. Even thoughts are prompts. And then he draws an action line. Now we all understand, I think, when I ask somebody something and that other person don't really wants to do it. And it's also difficult for that person to do it. They won't do it. But now comes some interesting insights. What we all also understand is, when it's difficult, but I really, really want to do it, people do it. For example, your favorite band comes to town and everybody wants to have tickets. You go online, but the website is frozen because it's way overloaded. You keep on going until you have your tickets. Motivation is high, ability is hard. We all understand that. But now comes an insight which is crucial and a change of direction in behavioral science. And that is, when we don't really want to do it, but it's super easy to do, we also do it. And I also always give an example. When I was a student at your age, back then I had to travel by train to the university. And as I'm an old man, back then they had physical newspapers. And they almost shoved it in your hand. It was a free newspaper, they sold ads. And as a student, I didn't have so much interest back then in reading the news every morning. So I didn't really want to do it, but it was harder to refuse the newspaper than to take it. So what happened? Every morning I ended up with a newspaper in my hand in the train. What did I do? I started reading the newspaper. So they made it super easy for me. And that's a wise thing to remember. And then of course the sweet spot, people really want to do it. And it's super easy to do. What I'm going to teach you today is a set of principles that will help you to design the winning prompt, to increase ability, and to boost motivation all at the right time. Because BJ's formula is B is math, behavior is motivation, ability, and a prompt at the same moment. And what can you do? I said, my book is Online Influence, but all what I will teach works offline and online. Look at this. A government wanted people to be more healthier. So instead of taking the escalators, they want people to take the stairs. You know what? They designed the stairs as a piano. And when you walked on it, actually played music. Suddenly everybody took the stairs. So with simple interventions, we can shift complete behavior. To do this, like I said, we need a proven toolkit. We need to know how to design the winning prompt. We need to know how to increase ability. And we need to know how to boost motivation. And on top of that, I will also even teach you how to design choices. And designing choices is not product A versus product B. If I click on a button, that's a choice. Do I open your email now? Do I reply to your Instagram message? Do I like your Insta post? These are all choices which we can also design. So the proven toolkit, I'm very proud, like Professor Singh said in my introduction, that I was able to work for all these big brands like Disney, Booking.com, ING, Eli Lilly, biggest pharma company in the world at the moment. But the good news is, these companies of course have huge budgets, huge teams. You don't need big budgets, you don't need big teams to apply this, and that's what you will see in the moment. So the journey started when I wrote this book, Online Influence, and I'm proud as well that it's by now translated in multiple languages, Spanish, Russian, Chinese, Japanese, Thai, Indonesian, Dutch obviously. So in that book we give you a complete toolkit. How can you design behavior? How can you get more yeses? And it starts with a simple question. What is this process? You wonder in an online world, what do I want my visitor to do? Or if you send an email campaign, what do I want my receiver to do? Let's take a look at this example. What do you think Digital River wants people to do on this page? Yeah, the obvious answer is true. Sorry, I heard it somewhere here.
Download the ebook.
Yes, download the ebook. That's true. That's what they want. So we always say, what is the desired behavior? Download the ebook. But now comes something interesting. How can you be even more persuasive if you start thinking this way? So download the ebook contains what we call certain micro behaviors. So to do so, probably people had to click on an ad somewhere. Then they had to read the promotional text on that page. Then they had to fill out a form. Then they had to give consent to privacy. And then they had to press submit, download the ebooks. So something simple as downloading the ebook has 5 micro behaviors. And that's good news for us. You know why? Per micro behavior, we can look at how can I improve the prompt, the ability and the motivation. And the second one, and the third one. And then we can make more people go from step 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, and therefore boosting our end result. So we can, per step, we can all apply these principles and therefore can heavily increase our end result. So, who likes to increase their results? Yes, happy to see that. That's exactly what we're going to do. And I want you to get results in minutes, not in months. And as Professor Singh said as well in the introduction, the beauty nowadays of technology can amplify the applicability of behavioral psychology enormously. So let's dive into the first step. Design a winning prompt. By the way, science also shows that your brain, after an hour 15 minutes, listening, or especially listening to me perhaps, no, that you need a break. So we have a short break in the middle, so don't worry if you're thinking about that. After the prompts, you will have a break. Question is, what are prompts? The definition is words, objects, sounds, and thoughts that we perceive and that can show us or they ask us to do a certain behavior or remind us to do a behavior again.
Like app notifications.
Sorry?
Like app notifications.
Yes, app notifications, definitely, super. My first example is always the alarm clock. I have this prompt every morning. It prompts me to wake up. And the fun thing is, because this single prompt, it actually starts a whole sequence of behaviors. Because I wake up, then I go to the bathroom, I shower, so just having that alarm clock let me do a lot of things. So one single prompt can put a chain of behaviors in motion. Let's now take a look at online prompts. Ads, they prompt you to click on them. Buttons, they prompt you to click on them as well. But today we have buttons, like the Buy Now button, they actually prompt you to buy something. You know, when Amazon, they invented the Buy Now button, the month they launched it, they made $300 million more revenue. Why? it was easier now to buy. 300 million in a month by just changing a simple button. Subject lines from emails, they prompt you to open the email. Forms, they prompt you to fill them in. Headlines, in media, right? You have a lot of articles, headlines, they prompt you to screen the subheadlines, and screening the subheadlines prompts you to actually read the article. And indeed, like you said, perhaps the prompt that's most famous all over the world nowadays, the app icon badge that you have a message or something, the app notification. So remember our child of 7. So the first lesson that I want to give you, first advice to design the winning prompt is we need to talk to this child of 7. So how can you do that? No, sorry, a few quizzes first. Imagine we are talking to a child of 7. These are real ads that I worked on. Only I had to anonymize them because of confidentiality agreements. But which email, when we did an email campaign, which one do you think was more open? A, $100 straight in. Yeah, great. Best audience ever. Yes, you said very clearly A. Can I ask why you think that? A is the perfect answer. Simpler. Yes, exactly. Yes, that's perfectly correct. Exactly, but here is $100.
But it comes later.
Ah, you think it's the order. Yes, interesting.
It's the lots of time lag between the events.
Love that. Love the reasoning. Great job.
Cashback also implies that I have to buy something beforehand to get it back.
And that's a really interesting one. Yeah, great. Wow. Great how you all start reasoning already. What we basically say is, it's simpler language. I never saw a parent talking to a child of 7 saying, let's go buy some toys. You know why? We have a great cashback promotion. So it's the simplicity also of the language. Then, which ad got more clicks? Again, have this child of 7 in mind. A or B? Who does A? Who thinks A? Who thinks B? Not everybody is interactive. Who thinks A? Great. Who is B? Fantastic. It's answer A. Why? Lesser information. If you say too many things at the same time, the child probably doesn't understand it. So less is more. Last quiz. Which ad got more clicks? This was really a farmer thing we worked on in China. So A or B? Who thinks A? B. Who thinks B? It's answer B. Why? Stronger emotions. Indeed, the strong emotions. Think again on a child of 7. If adults have a birthday party and the adults start laughing really loud, what does a child do? I start laughing as well, but has no idea why. Strong emotions attract the child of 7 in us, attract system 1. So what is the first advice I have for you? If you want to design a winning prompt, you want to win the war on attention, we have to start talking to system 1. So that means simple language. As few words as possible, 5 to 7 words max in a sentence. Make it visual. Images are much easier to process than words. And make it emotional, important, exciting, funny, winning. This attracts the child of 7. This is moving system 1 in your direction. And remember, system 1, the child of 7 in our brain, runs the show, according to the Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman. But there is more to it. What we need is prompt strategies for stopping power. Now you think, what is stopping power for a fancy term, boss? It's actually exactly what it says. 99.99% of the time people are online, they're doing something else than you want them to do. So they literally have to stop doing that and start doing what I want them to do. That can be reading your email, liking your Instagram post, buying something from your website, register for a free lecture. Something, all these things, you have to stop doing something and start doing what you guys want them to do. And we defined 4 prompt strategies that can do this. Today I will show you two of them and another magical one that often boosts conversions 99% of the time. That's first prompt strategy, curiosity. If we can make people curious, they are much more motivated to stop what they're doing and start doing what we want. And I have good news for all of you. You think maybe, wow, but how do I make people curious? It's actually super simple. Let me give you, we work for a media company, I told this morning to somebody, and their goal was people need to read more of our online articles because, well, if they read more, we have more space for ads, good for business. So we looked only at the headlines with curiosity prompts. So one headline was literally this: the way of working is changing drastically. We changed it to, this is what work will look like in the future. Result, 180% more clicks. This is only changing a few words, but the impact is enormous. We call this small bigs. Small changes with big outcomes. That's what we want to achieve. Not things what takes months to develop. Not things that take hundreds of thousands of dollars to develop. Small things where you can all change a few words, but you can get these outrageous high results. So, let me help you. How can you make people more curious? And I promised, it's actually not that difficult. Give you 5 tips. You can say everything, the same thing, but frame it different. For example, with a how title. A how title makes people curious. A surprising statistic. A why title. The word this at the beginning of the sentence, that's the strategy we applied in the previous headline. This is what work will look like in the future. And lists. Oh, lists. We love lists. 3 ways to do that. 5 ways to get your MBA program in a year. Things like that. So, now I have something cool. Remember our pilot, and if you raise your hand, I would step in the plane. Can I ask you why? Because I think we're on the same page now.
Because I believe that everything is not only the day. Why do we the person that experience to run the plane? So that's the reason I want to take over this.
Great. I love that. So you think it's not only age and experience. I think that's very noble if you step in a plane. Yeah. Love that. Indeed. Today our technology is so advanced, probably this kit will get you from A to B because the plane itself does all the work. And there, I love what we are able to do now. Combine behavioral psychology plus AI to boost your results. Not anymore in months, but in minutes. And I like to demonstrate something. So, can I? I will open our online influence lab and I will show you some. Oh, do we have internet? Ah, yes, great. Yeah, it's loading. Yeah. Oh. Give me a second. Yes. Well, drum roll. Sorry. Okay, let's take a look. We have a full online influence lab, but there we also have a highly trained, specific AI bot. And we could train it, of course, with a lot of scientific research, data from a lot of case studies we have. And there we created these principles and how can we make it super easy for you to apply? So let's take a look at the Curiosity AI agent. Let's say, what is our offer? It's a free lecture on online influence at Bennett. Yes, I studied everything. Thank you for your help. Objective is get registrations. Oh. Get registrations. Context. We are launching online influence at Bennett University. Okay, let's say we want a friendly tone to our students, and these are students of Bennett. Okay, now let's do that. The AI do its magic. So you now start seeing, so these principles, I just explained it. Previously, what is the thing? You say, I need to find a how title, but I want to say this, how do I do this? How can I make a list out of this? And there are even more strategies to do so. So now what I really love, if you look at the power of AI, you train these agents specifically on these principles, because that's a mistake I see as well. People try to put everything in one bot, but then the bot starts to hallucinate. What we decided to do is make per principle an AI agent, so it's highly trained, and then you can link these agents, but you still get the best outcome out of every agent. So let's take a look what it came up with. So we saw some banners, for example, online and there was promotion done by Bennett. Great job. But let's say now we want to try the curiosity. So Bennett could use this title. This secret could boost your online influence. How Bennett students master online influence without even trying. Why your online influence at Bennett isn't as strong as it could be. 5 reasons Bennett students are flocking this online lecture. It gives you, and you can, so open loop sentences drive curiosity. When Bennett students learn this trick, their online influence skyrockets. After. Before learning this at Bennett, you're just another student. After, you are an influencer. You feel these type of titles have something that grabs attention, right? It drives, it takes the stopping power we need. So this is what I love, combining behavioral psychology with AI. Therefore, I argue that even this kid nowadays can fly a plane in the air, because you don't have to study years and years anymore and read every behavioral science research that there is. You need to know the core practical element, and then with the power of AI, you can apply it in seconds. So, next prompt strategy. How are we on timing? Do one more and then a short break. Perfect. So, next one. Next is the simple question technique. And what is it about? Simple question. Every child in the entire world, in every culture, is raised to do a certain thing. When an adult asks you a question, what do you have to do? You need to answer the adult, right? That's taught to the child all over the world. So deeply rooted in our system, when you get a simple question, we are moving forward. We want to answer that question. So we move in your direction, basically. We prompt people to move in our direction. Let's see how we apply that at the biggest web shop, e-commerce shop in the Netherlands. Like I said, $8 billion web shop, so they sell quite some stuff, right? First, and they want reviews. Reviews are a powerful tool to get people to decide to buy your product. So the first, this is the real email that they send out back then, and on the right you have the translation. So they say, well, your opinion is important, can you write a review? If you clicked on it, you came into a survey questionnaire. We changed it to this. How do you like it? And then 3 answer options. Better than expected, as expected, not as expected. What happened? 200% more clicks. But something else, what is fascinating, happened.
Give money.
Sorry?
Give money.
Yeah. Yes, I wish. Well, what did happen, if you clicked here on the blue button to start filling in the questionnaire, or you answered one of these questions, you came into the same questionnaire. So they not only got 200% more clicks, but this one feels like you already started the questionnaire. And people want to finish what they started. So we had 400% more reviews. Besides our fee, what do you think it cost this web shop to make this email? Almost nothing. 400% more reviews. Can you imagine how many reviews that were if you sell for $8 billion at products? Millions of reviews, which is a powerful driver to sell even more. With a simple change, we were able to do so. Then, before I break, I'd like to show also one more AI tool to say, okay, how can we use this type of prompt? So let me go to our simple question AI tool. Hola, yeah, so that. And let's open it and say, we want to test the simple question prompt. Well, let's do the same. We want the CTA registered for online influence workshop. And our objective is let students register. We launch online influence with Bennett University. Again, we like, let's say now a casual tone, and the target audience is students from Bennett. Okay, let them generate some things with simple question prompting. While that AI is running for a bit, I want to give you some tips. If you want to test this, and test this on Instagram today, for example, write a post or something that you make, that you use the curiosity rule, or you do the simple question. With simple question, there are a few rules that you have to remember to make it maximum effective. First of all, the question has to be simple. So a child of 7, it's a question that you could ask to a child of 7. So don't ask Einstein level questions, because that's not for a child of 7. But there is even one thing more important. You saw in our example, we not only ask a simple question, how do you like it? We also provided 3 answer options. We want people not need to think, so we already provide answer options, which also means I don't know can be a perfect suggested answer option, because system 1 can be in control. System 1 can move forward with I don't know yet. What's your favorite color? iPhone? Black, silver? I don't know. If you see these types of ads, people instinctually want to answer, and the I don't know they can always do. Let's say here at our AI. So quick summary. So here you see, are you ready to join online influence workshop? Sign me up. And you see, it always provides 3 answer options. You don't want 2, you don't want 4, you want 3 answer options, because that's the ideal number where people easily can make choices of. Do you want to expand your influence skill with Bennett University? Great, absolutely, let's do it. What topics will be covered? I don't know. Want to get better AI influencing people? So, again, within an instinct, what I love here about using these AI tools, within an instinct we have a lot of creativity, which is trained by behavioral psychology. So we can even apply it faster and easier. What I suggest to do, we're talking now for about a little over an hour. After we take a 15-minute break, a 5-minute break. We take a 5-minute break. After the break, I will give you one more strategy or prompt, and that strategy works 95 to 99% of the time, and that was the strategy that brought SEAT to that morning. Then we dive into ability, motivation, and I give you another special tip on how to design choices in a super simple way. Looking forward to seeing you all in 5 minutes. Yes? Great!
Request you all to please be seated while we take this break. Please be seated. We will resume in 5 minutes. Request you all to please be seated.
I request everyone to please be seated on their respective seats.
MBA वाले बैठे हुए हैं बस। मुझे लगा हमारी आ गई क्या? हमारी आ गई। अच्छा बच्ची है यार,
मैं 2 दिन से मस्त रूम में रह रही हूँ ना, मैं इतनी खुशी में रह रही हूँ रूम में।
That was suggested, but I agree.
सुबह 10 बजे तक सोएगी भाई, 10 बजे तक सोएगी सुबह। क्यों भाई, ऐसा वो सोने नहीं देती है?
यार अलार्म नहीं लगाया था मैंने सर।
किसी लेके अक्सर किसी दिन आपसे किसी लेके इस पूरी दूसरे सेक्शन को भी बुला लो टाइम से हाँ निश्चित।
people are here, that's your bonus. So, let's talk about another strategy to design winning prompts. And it's actually about removing prompts, what we call competing prompts. So, I'd like you to imagine. Let's imagine, and as students you probably, is that it's not too hard for you, you have to go to a big party. So, the party, let's say there are 100 people, you run a little bit late, and you are the last guest that come in. And then when you open the door, 100 people start talking to you directly. What do? Probably you don't understand a single word that people say, and some people will run away, they get crazy from all the noise. But we do this online all the time. We think, oh, we have this to offer, that to offer, and this to offer, and we can also ask this to people, all on the same page. Like say up there. What they actually wanted was that people downloaded their price list, because they had a conversion from download price list to test drive to selling a car. But this was the page. So you see all the navigations are all prompts. I can go somewhere else. Then they have make a special deal, make a reservation, have something about business package, find a dealer. All different prompts where you could do other things than download the price list. And actually, download the price list was even below default. So what we did here, we made it much more simpler. So, sorry, this had also a 0.4% conversion on downloading price list. When we changed it to this, simple image, button, and this is Dutch, download price list. What was this? What did this landing page cost? Well, nowadays, nothing. You have these pictures, drag and drop, and it's done, what, in 5 minutes? 8% conversion. When you analyze statistics and you go from 0.4% to 8, it's not a 7.6% improvement. Ah, great. Fantastic, you come back. We're just getting started. So, if you analyze statistics, 0.4 to 8 is a 2,000% increase in leads. By simplifying things, removing competing prompts, SEAT was able to increase their statistics or increase their leads with 2,000%. And again, let's take a look at how AI can help us nowadays. So let me go to the competing prompt. Mark, I think you got this great page selected. Yes, here we go. So we looked, because we are here at universities. Oh. Yeah. Copy. See? Okay, text. Let's go and open the page. So, at this university, the admission page for, in this case, Arizona State University, the home ground of Dr. Robert Cialdini. So, what they have, if you already look, if you think about competing prompts, still their full navigation menu is available. So you give people the prompts to go away from the page. Then they say apply, request info, admission info, course. So they have a lot of different things that people can go off this page instead of doing what probably Arizona State University want them to do, applying. So let's take this page and say to our trained AI agent, what are the competing prompts that we can find on this page, and the desired behavior is applied now. You'll remember when I said before the break, I want to teach you a system. So you can use system 2, full brain power, but through that system, that way of thinking, you can come up with solutions that will trigger system 1, because system 1 runs the show. Then what we established was, the first question to ask is, what do I want my visitors to do? So in this particular example, Arizona State University, on the admission page, probably wants students to apply. Now we know that, we can look at micro behaviors, and then we look at all these powerful tools, this set of principles, and in this case what we are looking at is competing prompts. Fun thing is with competing prompts, removing things definitely doesn't cost anything. So let's see what the bot found. He says, well, I found 15 competing prompts, so I guess there's a 30 to 50% potential improvement in conversions, and by removing these prompts, there's also decision time save of 1 to 2 minutes. Well, I think you all know, 2 minutes in an online world, well, that's ages. Seconds is already ages nowadays because we have so much distraction. So then what it says, well, I found this link, I found this button, I found another link. So it lists all these prompts that right away in an instant you have your analysis, but also the suggestion if you remove or change these prompts to what you actually want people to do, probably your conversion go up in this particular case 30 to 50%. Again, that's why we are here to say power of behavioral psychology plus AI is to boost results fast and easy, not in months, but in minutes. And I'd like to show you something, because I'm actually pretty proud. Recently, we did some online training, live training, and somebody from India actually signed up. And he only had a prompt training, and he started applying it here in India. And he said this to me, he sent an email. What a result. After just 2 weeks, that was the thing, he applied these strategies. I already reduced my ad spend with 72%. His name was Kartik, and like I said, he came from India. So only this factor was huge for him. He ran his own business, he was an entrepreneur, and he ran ads to get business. Well, if you can reduce your costs with 72% with a small tweaks, great. But there's much more. Because let's increase ability. How can we make it easier for people to do what we want them to do? And first, I like to go to remove distraction. And I have an example from SimCity. It's a bit older example, as you can see on the design, but it says so much. You know, SimCity, huge global company, and they launched a new game. So the marketing team came together, and they were brainstorming, and they say, we need a great message to people buy our game. More people will buy our game. And they came up with this. You know, if you buy a game today, you know what you get? Nothing. But if you buy next time something from us, you get $20 discount. That's not a very persuasive message, right? So, but what actually happens, our brain needs to process that message. So everything we need to read online automatically lowers the ability on that page. So motivation and ability are always communicating vessels. But this became a distraction. Nobody was impressed by that message. So what they did, simply they removed the marketing message. Sales went up with 43.4%. And this 43.4%, I just told, SimCity, global, new game launch. Millions and millions of dollars are made by simply removing a marketing message that didn't function. Now, even a more, sometimes, weirder, crazier example, or irrational example, Expedia. They had a checkout form back then, and this is how it looked like. Perfectly normal, right? First name, last name, company name, and your address. But who books most of the time on Expedia? Individuals, not companies. So what does the company feel triggers subconscious in our brain? What do I need to do? I don't have a company. It was not obligated. There was no red asterisk there. But it triggers something in our brain. So it requires mental effort from us. So they removed it. You know how much they made? By removing this field in a single year. 12 million US dollars. What I say often, because our decisions are made with system 1, we have to maybe agree on this. All these examples, maybe it's not logical, it's psychological. That's what drives human behavior, the psychology behind it. And because system 2 is our rational part, but system 1 runs the show, the behavior that we see happening. It's not logical, it's psychological. So, B.J. Fogg also designed an ability chain. So, he defined 5 factors what can increase or reduce our ability to do something. And the first one is time. Do we have time? If I ask somebody, does he have the time to do it? Second, money. Does he have the money to buy or to do it, what I ask? Then physical effort. If somebody asked me today, boss, let's run the marathon, maybe my physical ability, I have to say no. Mental effort. How much brain power does it cost to do what you asked me to do? And routine or familiarity. Did you do it before or is it something entirely new? Of course, new things are harder to do. What we like to focus on is mental effort. Remember this. By reducing mental effort, you will increase conversions. By reducing mental effort, you will increase conversions. And a recent study, which was published in the top psychology magazines from Al-Bakari, he showed there were many interventions to change human behavior. The most successful intervention by far was make it easier for people to do what you want them to do. You can motivate them, you can message them, make it easier for them. That was by far the most successful approach. And one thing we reduced, one principle that we named, we not invented, the science created this knowledge, but we named it, we called it Jenga, the Jenga principle. And I think you all know this game, you know this game, yeah. What is the goal of the game? You have to take out wooden blocks without the tower to collapse. We like to do that with sentences. We want to take out words without the sentence to collapse. So, simpler said, we want to say the same thing with lesser words. Let me give you an example. Do you want more conversion on your website? Can we make that shorter? Yeah. Do you want more conversion? One more conversion. A sentence still standing. More conversion. Still does the job. One more. Okay, now my sentence collapsed. So let's stick with more conversion. But what did I do now? I reduced about 75 to 80% of the words. Why is that important? How much time do you think it costs an average human being to read and understand one word? I know this is a bit of a guess, but let's do a bit of interactivity. Who thinks A? Who thinks B? Who thinks C? The right answer is B, 100 to 200 milliseconds. But I make your life easy. I will give you some ability with a calculation I prepared. What that means, if you have a landing page and you remove 100 words, you save somebody 15 seconds. 15 seconds of reading in an online world, that's ages. So let me give you this example. It's an example from Lottie Files. They had a perfectly fine designed landing page. A header, few sentences, button, was very clear what you need to do. And you would think rationally, well, if I like their service, I can read 3 sentences, right? And then came the test. Reducing the 3 sentences to 1. 45.70% increase in conversion. Again, like I said, from a rational perspective, this makes no sense. If I'm interested, I can read 3 sentences, we think. But making it not logical, but psychological, and knowing if I can reduce that mental effort even more, conversions will increase. That's what happened. So, we also have an AI tool to Jenga, because Jenga is of course a brilliant one, and I see that all the time online, still very lengthy textual pages. So let's go back, just for argument's sake, to our ASU page. and I go to our lab and I say, I want our Jenga bot to do its homework. I just give the URL of the page and let it do its magic. In the meantime, why, again, AI and behavioral psychology? I see AI, of course, is brilliant and data analysis. And what it can do, it can give you instant creativity. That's why I love the Jenga bot, because here it comes together. It analyzes the entire page, but it also right away gives you the creativity power in a minute. What was the original? How can you say the same with lesser words? Previously, when we applied this, especially in big organizations, sometimes it cost a single copywriter 3 days to Jenga a single page. Because actually in copywriting, it's much more difficult to say the same things with lesser words than with more words. That's a skill on its own. Say something what you want me to say, but with few words. Well, again, a beauty of the collaboration with human beings and AI. By the way, that's an important statement I want to make before I show you the results. Recent research at Stanford shows something important. The companies nowadays that are successful in applying and using AI, they have the vision, it's a collaboration between human beings and AI. It amplifies the power of the human being. The companies that think AI will replace the human beings, they are far less successful. So that's our vision as well. These tools are not designed to replace the humans. These tools are not designed to replace you, that's the young generation. These tools are designed to make you like the super generations and amplified with the power of AI. So that's a strong, I think that's an important thing to realize. That's the vision, and I believe that should be the vision for the future as well. So let's take a look at the Jenga principle. What it now found on this ASU page, it found 14 blocks of content. It says I can remove 55% of the words, which means 218 words, equaling 35 seconds of reading. Then it says the graduation, this was the block, original, and the Jenga added. The visit, original, Jenga added. So I don't have to read it all out loud, so I think you get the picture. But you see how quickly and how powerful this can be, because every page, every email, your brochures, quotations you send out, you can all Jenga it and make it far more easy, reducing this mental effort for your audience, which will increase your conversions. So, let's start talking about boost motivation, and boost motivation at the right moment. Because motivation is an interesting one. I just mentioned Al-Bakari showed in his research 2024, ability is the advice to focus on. But motivation, of course, is enormously powerful if it happens to boost at the right moment. Motivation comes and goes. We call that motivational waves. Because I can be motivated for the same thing at the same day, and I can have total different motivation. Let's imagine I just wake up. I'm not interested in having a big dinner or seeing all my friends right away. I just want some time to just relax and wake up, right? But the same day, later in the day, when I finish work, I might be very motivated to see my friends and have a nice dinner with them. The time difference is only 10 hours perhaps. But I'm completely differently motivated. So motivation at motivational waves. That's why it's much harder to use these principles, because you have to motivate and boost motivation at the right time. But luckily, we know this man, and I know him luckily very well. The godfather of influence, Dr. Cialdini. His principles are designed to boost motivation. His first publication of the world famous book Influence came in 1984, and therefore, of course, a lot of models are since then also developed, which shows us prompts and ability, for example. This is actually the picture where we signed our partnership, so it brings good memories. And the thing that I'm very proud of is this quote. I've got many requests to partner. I only accepted it once. It was with Wouters. because its outstanding skills in applying the science of ethical influence, entrepreneurial skill, and amazingly kind and caring personality. So I hope you agree with the last statement. Thank you. Well, one of his principles that we see every day when we browse online is social proof. Tell the world what other people think of you. And probably the advice is tell that they think good things about you. But there are so many, again, subtle nuances that can make a big difference. Like Professor Singh said in my introduction, by coincidence I came into the kitchen industry, and we were actually the first one in the Netherlands that did lead generation in the industry online. When we were young kids, not a lot of money, and I knew at one moment these big companies will come, so they can out-advertise me in a second. So I knew back then already I need a different answer to stay successful and be able to compete with those companies. That answer became what I'm telling about today. That answer became behavioral psychology. That company grew from 0 to 25 million euro revenue when I sold it in 2016. But during that journey, of course, I had all these interesting insights because I was studying and applying. One of these insights was this. I learned, oh yeah, social proof. So I need to collect reviews, which I did, and I had more than 10,000 reviews. But I hide them, and in Dutch, beoordelingen, there in the navigation means reviews. But I had them hidden behind a button. So I had more than 10,000 reviews, but people had to click to it. So then I realized, that's a stupid mistake, boss. You have to bring it to your audience. So then what I did back then, I published on the homepage, used some authority. Back then everything that was published on Facebook was credible. Maybe that's changed over time, but back then. So I published on the homepage and I published above every call to action. So an orange button was get a free advice meeting. I published it there. What happened? I got 34.3% more leads. Remember, I already had these reviews, I just didn't brought it to my audience. But because the conversion from leads to visiting our shops to buying a kitchen remained the same, this equaled 3.1 million euro revenue. I had the reviews, I just needed to know where to show them. So you see the subtle nuance again. It didn't cost me anything. I already had them. It's where you place them and at which moment you boost the motivation. And therefore, what is the position here? The position is above the call to action. In the Western world, we read left to right, top to bottom. That goes in milliseconds, obviously, but that's how the information is processed. I first want in the brain that we do great stuff, and that was recognized by more than 10,000 previous clients. And then I want to ask something. So even the smallest tweaks in position can matter. Now I'd like to ask you something. I want to dig a bit deeper and give you some additional tips on reviews, and then I have even cooler, more powerful, even a very powerful tip. Review summary. What do you think is the most persuasive review summary? Answer A. Everybody gives you 5 out of 5 stars. 9 out of 10 people give you 5 out of 5 stars, or 89%. Who thinks answer A? Who thinks B? Who thinks C? And indeed, C is the right answer. But now, irrational. Look what is the best score, rationally. A. If everybody tells I'm great, that should be the best score, but it's not the most persuasive score. And this is perfect proof that System 1 is running our show. Because what System 1 thinks, nobody does everything perfect. So it's not credible. Then the difference, 9 out of 10. What System 1 also thinks is, well, 9 out of 10, we maybe made it up. But System 1 thinks 89%. You cannot make that up. That must be true. And therefore, it's the lowest score that's in the list, but it will be the most persuasive score. A perfect example that System 1 indeed is in control. So, what can you do to improve your review summaries? We all have reviews. Most of the companies show this. customer rating, and then they have a score. First step is get a quote. Get one of the great quotes from one single review, publish that, then mention your score. And now add some additional credibility. Outstanding score, and then how many people gave you a review. But don't call it reviews. Call it reviewers. Who gives these reviews? Actual human beings. They are reviewers. So, but I almost never see this online. But by humanizing it, it will be more credible and therefore more persuasive. You have reviewers that gives you reviews. But you want to mention that. How do we do that, for example? Yes, sorry, you want to take a picture? Yeah, okay. Please go ahead. How do we do it? Because there's one more ingredient. You have to think, what kind of quote do I use? For example, in Online Influence Institute, we do free workshops to generate also, to spread the word, so to say. So then we use the quote, outstanding workshop, on that particular page. But we also have offer pages, of course. And then we use, for example, this quote that I just showed you. So a different quote on a different page can have an enormous impact in the total conversion of that particular page. Now, this is what most people associate with social proof, reviews. But there is other magic. And let me give you this example of MYX. MYX is a big makeup e-commerce shop. And they have this perfectly product page. You click to the product, at the pink button with buy. Now they made a little small sentence below the bottom. It says 71 beauties have viewed this product today. Some social proof there. 33% more transactions. How many words? 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 words and 2 numbers. Not a bad ROI if you increase your revenue with 33% based on 6 words, right? But now magic comes in. Now somebody told them there's even room for improvement in this sentence. Because what does MYX want people to do? View their products, buy their products, purchase their products. So when they change the sentence, 71 beauties have purchased this product today. It was a 100% increase according to the control group. But moving up from 33 to plus 100, changing that one word increased the revenue again with 300%, changing only one word. Now I want to share this magic with you. How can you create those sentences? It has 3 criteria. The first one is you have to address your audience. People that go to a web shop for makeup probably want to feel beautiful, so they said beauties. Let's give another example. Let's say we want business managers subscribing to our channel. So a lot of people say online, I have 12,000 followers on whatever platform. Oh, if I target business managers, I say 12,000 business managers following us, because now the new business managers know this can be for me. That's criteria 1. Address your audience in this sentence. Criteria 2, this is an interesting one. Often we think we can be too blunt, or it's not nice to do this. Name the desired behavior literally, but name the desired behavior you want them to do literally. Like MYX, when they changed it from viewing to purchasing what they want to have, conversion went up. So they said purchase here. We can say 12,000 business managers subscribe to our channel. And then the last important one, and we already saw that, exact numbers boost trust. So instead of 12,000 business managers, 12,034 business managers. Or not 70 beauties, but 71 beauties. And with these little tweaks and subtle sentences, close to call to actions, close or where the prompt is that asks for the behavior, can have significant impact, like you just saw in the example, on the amount of conversions, the amount of people that follow through. So last element of today, design choices. Did you guys already have some ideas? Oh, I can use this or I can do that. I see here people, yeah? Animation. Yes, great. So, design choices. And I want to introduce you to something that we named as, that's called Hobson plus one. And that term comes from Thomas Hobson. And Thomas Hobson was living in the 1700s in England. And he was a mailman, so he delivered mail by horses. But he could make a bit of money out of it, but he liked to make some extra money. So what he did, he rented out his horses so people could go horse riding. But back then, remember, in the 1700s, people had to travel all the way by foot to his stables. Then what he did, he showed people all around the stables, showed every horse, and then he said, you can only rent this horse. So he gave them only one choice. That became known as a Hobson choice. So you see everything, but you can choose only one thing. The Hobson choice. The problem online is, you always have a second choice. That second choice is in the right top corner with a red cross. You can always go away. So online is never only one choice. So what we say, Hobson plus one, you want your primary call to action, but you want to suggest a secondary call to action. Why? Because now our brain is focused to choose between those two options, and the going away option is less available in our brain. And this is an almost outrageously powerful effect. I will show you 3 case studies in a second. First, I like 3 criteria how you should apply this Hobson plus one. So the first one is you have to place the 2 options close together. Make sure that the options fit logical and give the desired option more visual attention. Let's dive into that. So, place the options close together. So if you say at the card and then far away, it's not perceived as a choice by our brain. So you have to do this. Now it's perceived as a Hobson plus one. I can do at the card or at the wish list. And now our brain is focused to choose between those 2. The other one, make them fit logical together. Order with discount, receive our weekly deals email. Makes sense. Order with discount, learn more, makes less sense. So the more they resonate together, these options, the more the brain will focus to choose between one or both. And last, give the desired option more visual attention. So if you have 2 orange options, you have to have a primary design and a secondary. I always prefer this one, button and texting. So it has a clear visual difference. Now let's take a look at some cases. We did for Allianz. This is the thing with car insurances, and we have recently also did with unemployment. If you're self-employed in the Netherlands, at least, you have to make an insurance that when you get an accident, you cannot work anymore, you get money. If you're unemployed, your employer has to take care of you. Those insurances are highly expensive, from hundreds to thousands of euros per month. But what we saw here in car insurance as well, they had calculate your premium. Then they added a Hobson plus one, or look for your advisor. 17% more leads, maybe what is 17%? Well, on such an enormous company as Allianz, I don't know if you ever heard of it, 150,000 employees, globally, they're one of the biggest insurance companies in the world. So, then these percentages, if you calculate in real numbers, they are big. But let's go to another one. Get response, world's easiest email marketing. They had a button, buy now. And they added another button, free trial. 158.6% more leads. Now the last banger, the Capital One. You could loan money there. They had learn more about applying for a loan. When they said get pre-qualified or learn more, 363% more conversions. So this Hobson plus one, I would recommend everybody try this out. And for you, of course you're students, so I believe this topic, and I'm grateful that I could speak to you here, can have multiple impact. You maybe have a student job, you maybe are even on Fiverr or Upwork to earn some extra buck. How can you present yourself? Maybe you can even make money helping people applying these principles during your student time. You're on Instagram, you have a big online social life where you can get more views, more things. So I hope you enjoy this, you can test this out, and I want to end with this. I believe that there's a huge mismatch with what science knows and business does. After my presentation, who agrees with me? I'm happy to see that. So, another person who says that is Dr. Robert Cialdini, godfather of influence self. He said this material is a must-have for anyone involved in online influence. And he also said the value is not in knowing the principles, that's just a start. Getting results is in applying these principles. Therefore, I'm happy that we get lots of great comments from all over the world, let's say here at the University of Spain, but here, USA, we applied many of these principles on our client's website, achieved tremendous results. There's somebody from Dubai, the MENA region, there, UK. If you want a website sells more, online influence, of course, that helps. So what we are going to do, I have a gift for you to get you started. And that gift, you can scan this QR code, but I've designed a full prompt. You get the prompt, it's a Google Doc, so you can make a copy or you can download it as a Word form. It's a prompt where you only insert a link to your LinkedIn profile, and it will give you all the information to make your LinkedIn profile a persuasive landing page. We are all on LinkedIn nowadays, and most people have, like, it's a resume. But a resume is not that engaging for the other person because they want to know what can you bring them. Well, I have a gift. This prompt will help you make your landing page a gift. So, if you like, scan it. You get to a Google Doc. You can make a copy for yourself. You can download it as a Word document and try it out. It's also how my profile is built with this prompt. Then I like to do something funny. What I really love to do, we are here on a mission in India to help everybody applying online influence. So what I think is cool, if we can make some pictures, and if you can tomorrow post on LinkedIn, preferable Instagram, tell your biggest takeaways from today. Let's make some pictures here, and I will there also. And let's spread the news that online influence really can help everybody involved and getting more yeses.
Yeah.
Okay. A little waddling here. Let's make some pictures. We'd love to see tomorrow. So biggest insights, also a great learning for us. Thank you. I think there will be more to come about today because we only touched, like you see, a few principles of our toolbox. So there's still a lot uncovered. There are, of course, ways to uncover that. We're talking here with Bennett University how we can bring our online influence specialist program to you, our online influence lab. So more to come for all of you if you're interested. Now I'm here. Already some people came to me that they have some questions. If you have, I will answer today. If you like, it would be an honor for me if you send a connection request on LinkedIn. If you have a question later in the future, please do so. And I'm here to answer any question after the talk. For now, thank you for your participation.
Thank you so much, sir, for insightful words. Be less curious about people and more curious about ideas and learnings. Now we would like to pass the mic to our audience to move towards an Q&A session.
वर्मा को बोलो
I'm Aditya Verma, and currently I'm pursuing a course. I'm doing an MBA in this college. So, like I asked you, sir, fog behavior model does seem to work on in the short term, but in the long term, it does seem, in my opinion, it won't really work. For example, let's start with a wellness app. Now, let's say a wellness app company decides that, we will give you some monetary benefit provided that you can complete a number of steps. So, according to your model, that's people have to log in every day. That's the prompt. The short-term outcome would be that they will interact with the program and everything. However, what will happen after a long time when the company realizes that they cannot continue with this monetary approach? Once that stimulus is gone, won't the strategy fail?
I love that question. So I think we have to separate. So the question is, using the fog model, isn't that a short-term intervention, and on the long term it doesn't work anymore? So thank you for asking that great question. I like to answer it this way. I don't think the fog model is a short-term answer. It's how to create behavior. And then I like to quote Dr. Cialdini again. The most difficult thing about influence is knowing exactly what you want to influence. So there are different influence situations that I did. You have the new client that needs to be engaged, warm up to come to the app. That's an influence situation on its own, which requires a prompt, increase ability, and boost motivation. Once the client is an ongoing client, you cannot, with the same message as he was attracted to become a client, remain him an active client. So you've got a new influence challenge here. So your influence challenge is now, okay, how can I keep the client active? Which requires a different prompt, a different message, other things where you facilitate ability, other areas of boosting motivation. So it changes, and this is a cycle of every client journey. So I think the fog model will work. That is just a scientific model how behavior occurs. It's just what behavior, I think that is where you think it's different. The desired behavior, or what you want to influence, changes over time, and therefore strategy will change, messages will change. But the messages and strategies will still be based on the fog model and the same behavioral psychology principles to persuade people in the direction you want them at that particular stage.
So I asked this question because there is a big assumption that it's a 7-year-old. But what will happen when the 7-year-old person grows after they watch the same kind of advertisements and persuasion techniques again and again? To put it more simply, let's say all of your audience and all of the people who have read your book, well, they adapt that strategy. Now it's flooding the market. Everyone is using it. For a short while, the audience will engage with it, obviously. But after that, they'll get used to it, right?
I agree with you. If you put the same message in front of somebody multiple times, things can happen. The message is strong. It's a very powerful brand driver. Think about Coca-Cola with Christmas. Every year you see holidays are coming, goes all over the world. It still amplifies the good feeling, so that's a powerful message. People don't get tired with it. If you see the same message buy now, buy now, yes, it will not resonate that well anymore, of course. So I think here it's not in the fog model, it's not in the child of 7, it's in the message itself where you are referring to. And about the child of 7 growing up, that's an interesting one. It won't. The child of 7 won't grow up, and that's a thing, what is called confirmation bias. System 2 tells never to system 1, they've made a dumb decision. System 2 tells what we do, we decide with system 1, and then we make arguments that it was a good decision to do so. And let me give you an example. Let's imagine I walk outside, and I see a Lamborghini car. And that system one thing, well boss, you work so hard, let's buy the Lamborghini. And then I do it, and then I realize, that was not a good decision for my bank account. But what I will tell myself, you deserve it, so that's what confirmation bias does. So the child of 7 never grows up, and yeah, okay, I can do some fun exercise. Why? Let's do it.
I would say system 1 is exactly why the quick commerce services are even existing in the first place.
Yes and no. I think they also deliver things we actually need and want to have. Although the most successful ones, and also social media channels, the ones that are most successful, they understand behavioral psychology and they understand that's our decision making. Let's do, because you also approached me in the thing. I think there's a fun exercise for all of us. About system 1, and then you will see, wow, it's really true. Work with your neighbor. And you get 10 seconds in a moment from me, and then your goal is to mention the months of the year just in the order. January, February, well, we all know the months of the year. Just tell them. It's a simple exercise, no strings attached. I give you 10 seconds, and just tell to your neighbor, one person tells the other, in that order, the months of the year. Yeah, we can do that? Yeah? Okay. 1, 2, 3, go!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, done.
Was everybody able to mention the names? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Makes sense, right? System 1 could handle it, yes? Oh. I think for a lot of years you know the months of the year. Every month you know for a lot of time. Now I'll give you 30 seconds. Let's swap role. The other person that just listened. Now that person going to talk. Now mention the names of the months in alphabetic order. I give you not 10 but 30 seconds. Go! 30 seconds.
30, 20,
August, April, March, May, June, July. Ini boleh dinaruh.
Ini March and then May.
5, 4,
June,
3,
July,
2, 1,
September, October.
Okay, boss. Who was able to do it? Really well, compliments. Really great. Okay, sorry, that was a little exercise to show. System 1 knows what it knows, and then it goes on autopilot, like we say all the time, January, February, March, we know that order. Suddenly in alphabetical order, even with 3 times the amount of time, we are not able, because suddenly system 2 have to bring it. So that's the reason. So I don't think the models are wrong. I think what you are describing is that the focus on what you actually are trying to influence is changing, and that are the tweaks to be made. So I hope that answered my question, and this little exercise is a little eye-opener. The child of 7 in us that make decisions never grows up. Thank you for your question. It was a great question.
Due to the lack of time, we'll just be taking one more question.
Yes.
So I asked my question. I would like to really compliment the discussion you had. Really insightful, and your energy is really contagious. So I had to bring it up. My question is bringing up the consumer psychology stuff we discussed here onto teams, and how do we set deadlines in such a way we do not create a scarcity of urgency nor a fake urgency sort of tone when we bring up deadlines and we are supposed to set it up.
Love that. So your question is, how can we set deadlines without faking it? Yeah, that's great. And the answer, the simple answer lies in the question, obviously. The deadline has to be real. And it also has to do with the ethical component. I give one tip, maybe that helps you. To do it ethically, you need to have a deadline. And that is the deadline, so you have to approve it. How can you make that deadline more powerful? Two reasons. Two things, and I think this is a great question as well. We set all the time deadlines, but people don't oblige with the deadline. And it's not by selling, it's team collaboration, right? That you say, that's why, great. You see my first slide, so that's why I love it. This is applicable not just to sales, but indeed also team collaboration. So, there is a deadline, then the project has to be finished. I give you two principles that can help you to make more power to setting the deadline. First one is a principle in our toolbox called reasons why. And I quickly tell a study, a famous study in the 60s. People were in line for a copy machine. But back then you had these machines and people were waiting for it to make copies. So what they did, they tested, can I skip the line? So there was a line, somebody asked, can I skip the line? And in the 60s, maybe there was a little less stress to than we are today, but 60% said yes to that request. Then they say, can I skip the line because I'm in a rush, I have to teach, and I need to make those copies? They gave a reason. 94% said yes. Then the fun thing about this research was, then they had a request, can I skip the line because I need to make copies? What does everybody else need to do waiting in line for a copy machine, right? So an invalid reason, but still 93% of the people said yes. So the valid reason versus an invalid reason didn't even matter. That is repeatedly proven. So one tip I want to give you, you have a deadline, tell because. Give people a reason why that's the deadline. Yep. I hope that helps. Another thing is that I like to do, if you have previous projects, for example, where people make the deadline, that you say, and that's the majority of people, that you say we have this deadline because X, Y, Z. Previous projects, 98% of the people always delivered their stuff, their contribution in time. Now we are combining in one message actually, scarcity, deadline, reasons why, social proof. Is that helpful? Then we are stacking the principles basically, and that of course made the message more powerful. Yeah. That's before the deadline. I love that. You want to explain? Okay. Okay, that's a great tip. It's indeed before the deadline. What we most of the time do in team collaboration is we say, one person says, that's your deadline. And well, the rest can only say, okay, I will do that. But that person to whom we talk never made a commitment actually. We say you have active yeses that people say, yes, I will do that. Or you have confirmation yeses that people say, I hear what you say, but that doesn't mean I will do what you ask. So before you set the deadline, what you can do is say, well, we want to have this project finished in time, therefore we think the deadline of what we need to do has to be this day, because this, you put everybody in a room, then you bring everybody to the front, let them write a name, preferable, not digitally, because people recognize, write the name, I'm boss, I will have this ready this day. I'm Van Ketteren, I have this ready. And everybody writes that on the board. What you now have is an active commitment, an active yes, what people personally said, voluntarily said, I will do this. You will see a big increase in people actually getting the results. So thanks to Van Ketteren, you also have this bonus tip. Was that helpful? Okay, great, I'm happy. Yep.
Curiosity is the key to all learning personified by a lovely audience. Now we request our CEO, Mr. Senthil Kumar, to come to give the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for the response. I truly appreciate it. On behalf of the entire management of Bennett University and the leadership, I would like to wholeheartedly thank the entire team of Quality Australia fraternity, and in particular, in order, Pankaj Rai, Managing Director, thank you for your time, Venkatram, and Mr. Pankaj Srivatsam, and other colleagues from the same fraternity. Thank you for your time. This was really a meaningful session for us. And in the hero of the session, thanks Bas for taking a very, very insightful session today. This will be going a very long way for our students and all the listeners who had takeaway from this session. This was very knowledgeable, engaging, and animated. Thanks for reminding today is a World Animation Day. It was very animated session today, and the confluence of psychology and AI was truly engaging, and we appreciate it. And I'm sure these sessions will help personally and professionally to our students to carry the learning what they got it from today. And thanks to the organizing team, the entire faculty members, deans, HODs for their valuable presence in the session in the first half, and students in the second half as well. Thank you for making this happen. Thank you very much.
Now we request our Vice Chancellor Sir, CEO Sir, and the respected deans to come forward to felicitate our guests. Mr. Paz Wouters, Mr. Venkatram Arabulu, Mr. Mark Brown, Mr. Paz Wouters. Mr. Venkatram Arabulu. Mr. Mark Brown. Miss Maggie Down. Miss Tanya Rai. Mr. Pankaj Rai. And Mr. Pankaj Srivatsam.
That's it for today's event. Thank you so much for being such a wonderful and supportive audience. And please, can you please request everyone to gather for a group photo.
चलो चलो
भैया क्लास में हूँ अभी कितने बजे तक आ रहा हूँ बस
आ रहा हूँ मैं 1:45 तक आता हूँ मैं ना क्लास में हूँ यार। अब आप आते इस टाइम हो क्या है? हाँ 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 आ ही रहा हूँ।